I had bacterial vaginosis nonstop for almost 6 months. I was frustrated with it. I'd used antibiotics so much. My bacteria, my whole area was really thrown off. So I ordered Happy V, and I haven't had bacterial vaginosis since. It was the best decision. I love Happy V. I love my probiotics, and I was really happy with it.
What led you to prompting or looking for other health solutions? If there was any issues you were facing health-wise or struggles?
That's actually, I have quite a long story within that.
Okay.
But starting like into January of 2023, so over a year ago, I had gotten a UTI and
Mhm.
I was just experiencing that. I went to the doctor, I got some antibiotics, the classic like drinking cranberry, doing what they all told me to do. And then it went away. Not even 2 weeks later, I had another UTI. That went on for about 5 or 6 months. I was becoming really frustrated with all of that going on. There's not a lot of knowledge about those things, and no one likes to talk about it. I just felt really frustrated with the health industry and doctors not knowing much about it. And obviously, they all were like, "Here's what you should be doing, do this and this." And I was like, "I am." And I was on a probiotic, and just nothing was helping. And so I had been like, one day I was sitting in classes, like frustrated, and I started doing a whole bunch of research about the types of probiotics and prebiotics that are good for that. I came across Happy V, and it was super recommended. I had already tried 2 or 3 other probiotics, high quality, but they just didn't work for me. I found Happy V, and I read the comments that people were like, "This was my saving grace. Like, I was struggling for months and I tried this." So I was like, you know what? I'm so frustrated. I'm willing to try anything. So I ordered Happy V. It was the end of October, maybe November was my first time I ordered it. And I haven't had bacterial vaginosis since I've started them. It was definitely a whole journey and a lot of pain, like crying, tears, being
Mhm.
frustrated with it. But I haven't had bacterial vaginosis in months, and it's only been because I've taken Happy V. So that's like my journey before. And
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing. How did you first know? First, it started with the UTI that, hey, something is up. I should go to the doctor. Even when you went to the doctor, what was their like remedy for you or solutions?
back when I was getting my UTIs, at first we all thought it was just like it happens sometimes to women, like we're just gonna treat it. So the biggest thing was definitely taking pain relief and then getting those antibiotics that my doctor had prescribed. And then they were just like, make sure you're following the proper hygiene and drinking a lot of water. And I was like, yep, okay, I can do that. So it was probably that was like the whole routine every single time I got an UTI. And then after the third or fourth one in a row, my mom and I were like, this is not normal. Like, there's definitely something going on because it was reoccurring at this point. It was really rough. I'm not going to lie. I was in a lot of pain and just like not being able to pee. I felt like I couldn't even walk to class some days. So I was in a lot of pain and there wasn't really a lot of answers. And all the doctors were like, make sure you're on like a probiotic and you're taking cranberry supplements and just like the basic, like drinking water. They were helpful as much as they could be. It was frustrating because there's not a lot of knowledge about it. They told me everything they could, but nothing was solving it, and I was in a lot of pain for so long, but I finally got out of that cycle, which was really good.
Did they tell you to take antibiotics when you had the UTI? Did
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
that help? But I know you mentioned threw off maybe your pH levels or killed off the bacteria. You started to experience BV and yeast infections. Is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly.
How did you figure out that it was now BV or yeast after the UTI and the antibiotics?
Every time I went in, I would tell them my symptoms, and almost every time they just went straight for the urine sample. I would say probably at least once a week, maybe even once every other week. I was on a first name basis with my doctor. Every time I came in, they were like, "Oh, girl." And I'm like, dude, I know. I really wish it wasn't happening. They were just as frustrated as I was. They were like, we don't want to see you in this pain. They always did the urine sample. My symptoms did change after a while. It wasn't, it was less of like the urinating issues and more just like burning and the smell. And so that's when they were like, okay, we'll do a urine sample, but we also want to do a swab. And so then that was when they decided that I was starting to have BV infections, which was the bacterial swab that they would do, like do the test. I would say they switched over from doing the urine to the swabs. That was how we got into that transition.
Yeah, because you could tell that your symptoms were changing, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Walk me through what you were thinking or feeling during that time of, okay, UTI, I thought I got it figured out from that, but now it's turning into these other infections. I know you did some research, your mom was there with you, but walk me through what you were thinking or feeling during that time.
Obviously, with the UTIs being back to back, that was really hard on my mental health just because you're in this chronic stage of not feeling great, not feeling like your body's healthy, and that
Mhm.
can take a toll on you. That was a lot of frustration and wanting answers and not finding the answers that I really wanted. I had a regular gynecologist, but then I also ended up going to a urologist. I had to go to the emergency room one time because I had gotten a kidney infection. Just a whole lot of frustration. Finally, I stopped getting UTIs and everything was good for probably about 3 weeks. I was like, "Oh, the UTIs are gone. I am great." It was like May, June, so it was super nice outside. I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're good. I feel so much better. I'm so glad." But then the VV started coming in. At first, I was like, "This is okay. This is way better than the UTIs. I can deal with this." But then that quite literally never went away. I would have a VV infection, go to the doctor, they would test it, come back positive, and then they would give me some antibiotics for that, and then I would take the antibiotics, and then after that, I would get a yeast infection. So then I would take the yeast infection medicine or over-the-counter cream, and then I would get a BV infection.
During this time, you said you were trying different probiotics and all
Yes.
that your doctor recommended.
Yes, so I did a cranberry supplement twice a day, and then I also was taking a daily probiotic as well. The cranberries definitely did, I think, for the UTI situation. But at this point, I'm just frustrated. It was better because I wasn't in as much pain, but I just felt really not confident in my body and where I was at with everything. And so it was a lot of tears. I cried a lot and I was frustrated. A lot of my doctor's appointments I would go in and I don't like being in people's way. I don't want to be like an inconvenience. And so I was like, yeah, it's fine, but I just have a lot of things going on. The longer I went and the worse it got. Cried a couple of times to my doctor and I was like, I just don't know why I can't get out of this cycle and I don't know what's going on. And so I had ended up switched or I like went to a specialist who's more in tune to this. They were talking about the different like probiotics, which I had already discovered. Like I had done that research and I had found Happy Bee. And so I brought it into them. And I was like, what do you think of this? Do you think this is like worth trying? And they were like, yeah, this would probably be one of the best ones for your issues. And they were right. So it has worked out really well. I think going from being really disappointed and not confident to being infection free for 4 months now. And it's just a really great feeling. I will call my mom. I'll be like, guess what? It's the 4 month mark. And she's
Yeah, I love that you're able to talk to your mom about it. She sounds like a supportive person in your life for your health, which is awesome. I love how you advocated for your own health. I know you said, I don't want to be a bother and just let it go, but you're like, no, something is wrong. I know this isn't supposed to be happening like this or this often. You kept going and showing up for yourself and for your health. And also love that you did your own research and that you even then brought that to your doctor. How did you come across Happy V online? What did you search or was it on social media? How did you hear about it? Happy V.
yeah, great question. So I would say during my whole flurry of research, I was diving in deep. I probably was researching all the things for 3 or 4 hours at one point. And I think I had just looked up like best probiotics for this bacteria or best probiotics to help prevent BV. And I think Happy Bee was on a blog that someone had done analyzing a bunch of the different probiotics in the market, talking about this does this and it's this price and these are the pros and cons. So Happy Bee was on that list. And then they had a story about the founder and how she was going through similar issues and just also frustrated. So she started her own probiotic. I just really liked that. Went to Happy Bee's website, read all the reviews and looked at all like the prices and everything and just was like, okay, I'm just going to take the leap at this point. Anything is better than this. It was the best decision. I love Happy Bee. I love my probiotics and I was really happy with it.
Yes, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Is there any specific ingredients or features about Happy Bee that when you're comparing to everything else or other brands, you were like, yes, this is the one to try? Because I know you said you had tried some other stuff too, but maybe if there was one or two things that you're like, okay.
I think the biggest one was the CFU count. That stood out to me because in a lot of other products, it's really low or they're just not as supportive of the two main bacteria. I don't know how to pronounce them, but like that one and there's two of them that are like very like targeting like BV. And so those were things that I was like, I need those in my probiotic. And some probiotics do have those in there, but they're not as high in number. And I think That was one of the things that I found in my research was the number matters and the count in the tablet that you take is super important. And so Happy Bee checked all those boxes with the bacteria, the type it was, the amount that it had. And honestly, the price was really great for me too. There were some that were $15 and those were a lot lower. And then there were some that were $50 or $75. Those were obviously really high end, but Happy Bee was a good medium for me. And yeah, so definitely those things ticked my boxes, which was really nice.
Thanks for sharing. How do you incorporate the pre and probiotic into your everyday routine?
I definitely start my morning with that. I always have my water bottle next to my bed. I always start with hydrating 'cause that's super important to me. And I'll take my probiotics and prebiotic pills, get on with my day. I'll get dressed and get ready. I always remember because it's the first thing I do in the morning. It's right next to my vanity. I'm pretty forgetful sometimes, but I don't think I've ever skipped it. And I'm consistent in timing too. With classes, I'm usually up by 8, almost every time at 8 or 9. Sometimes on the weekend, it's 10 or 11.
Love it. Staying consistent is huge and love that you have a routine and see it every day. Let's talk about, I know we talked about the hard stuff and what you're experiencing before, but tell me, how has this now finding the probiotic and being 4 months free? What's it been like on the other side for you? And maybe what are some things that you weren't confident in doing before that now you don't have to worry about, or that has influenced your well-being now?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say first, I feel a lot more confident. I've noticed a lot about just how my body looks, like with bloating and everything like that. Yeah. And I would also say this might be too much information, but I have regular bowels now, which has really helped too. I feel like my gut health has improved a ton. But also, like, more importantly, like, everyday life, I can go to classes now and I'm not in pain or discomfort or self-conscious about my body. Going to the gym, I love working out. It helps me de-stress from college too. Going to the gym is so important. Last year, I just couldn't because I was constantly fighting an infection or just, like, anything like that, and so I was trying not to create more sweat or heat. I've gotten back into a great routine of going to school, going to the gym, and feeling confident in my body, not feeling exhausted from fighting the infections.
It's great. Like a night and day difference, right?
Like,
There a product or something that you wish Happy V had that we don't offer right now? This is where your entrepreneur mind could come out a little bit.
absolutely. I was thinking about this earlier. I really like that you guys have the cranberry packets. I think that's really great because a lot of times people will do that for UTI. Cranberry juice is really high in sugar. So I think it'd be cool if you expanded on that product line and did some kind of ingredients that promote good pH.
For UTI, maybe? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kinda. But I like the idea of that and just putting it in your water and knowing what you're drinking is good and it's gonna help promote a good pH and overall bodily health, like gut health, maybe more variations of it.
Can you share any tips or insights for maintaining vaginal health that you do personally that's worked for you beyond just Happy V? I know you mentioned hydration, but if there was any other things that you do that makes a difference.
Yeah, 100%. My roommates and I joke that I'm an expert now on all things making sure everything's healthy. I have had to learn a lot in the last year,
Yeah.
but definitely my underwear, that's been a big one. Just the material I use and making sure it's breathable. I think that was the hardest thing to switch over. Throwing away all of your underwear that's not great and replacing it can be expensive, but it's been my favorite thing ever. And now it's way more comfortable and I feel a lot better about sweating or going to the gym and working out, but also try not to wear super tight spandex leggings to the gym. I know it's fun to have those cute, trendy outfits, but I know that's not going to be great for me. Some people it works for, which if that's what you want to do, it's what you want to do. But knowing the materials and the way you do things in your life really impact your health and your hormones, and being aware of those things is super important.
Yes, I love it. One last question.
Sure.
If you could go back and tell Olivia when the UTI started to happen, advice or some encouragement, what would you tell her?
I would wish I would have started Happy Bee probably in February, but also I think just advocating for myself and not feeling, you talked about how it's really easy to feel ashamed and like it's a hush subject and people are uncomfortable. I would say just being open and being honest, especially with my doctors, but also my family. They know a lot. about the whole situation, and they've been really encouraging and a great support system. I wish I wouldn't have felt as scared to talk about it in the beginning and being like, "Oh, this is embarrassing," or, "Oh, this is my body's gross." But just realizing these things are normal. I think the best thing I found was, like, a lot of the people have talked on different pages or Facebook, Instagram, like, just seeing influencers and people being open about it. Even, like, Happy Bee's Instagram, I love the little reels that you guys have that talks about things because it really shouldn't be a hush subject. It's women's bodies and stuff like that happens. I think there needs to be more awareness. I would say just not feeling as ashamed.